February 12th, Janani Luwum. Welcome to 365 Christian Men, where every day we aim to inspire and encourage with real-life stories about men. In 1977, Uganda roiled with fear. In 1971, Field Marshal Idi Amin violently overthrew the elected government and named himself president. He was known as the Butcher of Uganda, and his nickname was the Machete. During his reign, he massacred hundreds of thousands of civilians. In 1972, he ruthlessly drove all Indian and Pakistani citizens out of Uganda, which contributed to the decline of the Ugandan economy. Amin was a brutal dictator. And Janani Luwum, the Archbishop of Northern Uganda, was his opposite. In 1948, when Janani was a young schoolteacher, he converted to Christianity and became a vocal evangelist. When he was consecrated as bishop in 1969, there in the congregation stood the Prime Minister of Uganda and the Army's Chief of Staff, Idi Amin. On this date, in 1977, Janani confronted Idi Amin and condemned his persistent acts of violence. When evil threatens, a man must confront the darkness, no matter the cost. Janani knew his personal mission: to defend the people, to expose evil, to call for justice and human rights. A giant of a man, Janani's smile put everyone at ease. His preaching, faith, and benevolence earned him great influence. No matter how popular he became, he exuded a simple, easygoing confidence. In 1974, when Janani was nominated for Archbishop of Uganda, he knew it would not be easy. Anyone who stood up to Amin's cruel regime soon disappeared, permanently. But Janani believed God would guide him and give him the courage to do his work. Amin and Janani forged a tenuous relationship. Janani attended government functions, and publicly, Janani prayed for Amin. "We must pray for him. He is a child of God," he said. But privately, Janani challenged Amin and advocated for those whom Amin had wrongly killed and imprisoned. Opponents criticized Janani for associating with Amin. Janani answered them gently. "I live as though there will be no tomorrow," he said. "I face daily being picked up by the soldiers. While the opportunity is here, I preach the gospel with all my might. I have not sided with the present government, which is utterly self-seeking. I have been threatened many times. Whenever I have the opportunity, I have told the president the things the churches disapprove of." Amin accused the church of preaching hatred against the state. Janani's wife and friends begged him to flee, but he chose to stay, and he chose to fight. He chose to pastor his people. "If I, the shepherd, flee," he said, "what will happen to the sheep?" But as Amin's outrageous brutality escalated, Janani's appeals to and disapproval of Amin had to become more public. He couldn't be an honest man and keep quiet. Janani became a powerful voice of prayer and hope for a country in agony. In his Christmas sermon, broadcast live on the radio, Janani called Amin's regime ruthless. Mid-broadcast, the government stopped the program. Silence. In January, as other pastors followed Janani's example and preached against Amin's regime, tension grew. In the middle of the night on February 5, 1977, soldiers forced their way into Janani's home, allegedly looking for guns. Janani told them, "I have no weapon but the Bible." Then on February 10th, Janani and his fellow bishops wrote a letter to Amin. It highlighted the murderous violence and breakdown of civil rule. The bishops demanded that Amin meet with them to reconcile his differences with the church. Janani boldly sent copies to Amin's cabinet members and hand-carried the letter to the president's office. Janani knew he had signed his death sentence. After a February 16th trial in a kangaroo court, Janani told Bishop Kivingere, "They are going to kill me. I am not afraid." He said he saw God's hand in the situation, which sounds a lot like the words of Joseph in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. "You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people." Well, the next day, Radio Uganda broadcast that Janani had died in a car accident, but multiple bullet holes in his body told the real story. The murder of Janani Luwum was the wake-up call the international community needed and a pivotal turning point for the breakdown of Idi Amin's regime. Janani chose the path of speaking truth to power. He defended the people, exposed evil, and called for justice and human rights. What darkness must you confront? When evil threatens, a man must confront the darkness, no matter the cost.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Carpenter. I'm one of the narrators for 365 Christian Men. Today is February 12th, and you just heard a story about Janani Luwum. Speaking truth to power requires courage and conviction. And I think for most men, stories like the one that we heard today, they tend to stir something within us, a desire to confront evil and to be a force for good in the world. But where do things like courage and conviction come from? Well, they come from God, and they're forged in the fires of faithfulness. You know, Janani Luwum, he didn't just wake up one morning with courage and conviction to confront Idi Amin. Instead, he cultivated courage and conviction over a lifetime of faithfully following Jesus. And so my challenge for you today is to establish habits in your daily rhythms that produce things like courage and conviction within you. And then I want you to commit to faithfully practicing those habits and rhythms so that when the time comes, you'll be ready to speak truth to power.